But what ends up happening is you end up burning yourself out, and you would have been much better off serving your family and your business and your community if you had been a little bit more selfish about your development time. You really can't afford not to have it. And I ran into that all the time with the people that were working for me when I was a team leader. They just fell into that trap of, I don't have time for that. And I just always consistently said, if I can find the time as the team leader, I'm just as busy as you guys are. You can do it too. It's just a matter of being intentional.
Hey, and welcome to the show. We are your private money lenders in Oklahoma and Texas, Joel and Ryan. Excited to be on. Today, we are going to be talking about some productivity tips and hacks and just some stuff that we are currently experiencing ourselves and some things that we found super, super helpful that we've implemented not only recently, but in the past. And just kind of wanted to talk about that, share about what we're experiencing, how we're doing it, and what that looks like for us to be a value add for you and your business. And maybe you can take some of that. Maybe that's some stuff you're also implementing, and would just love to get your feedback, comment, or share what you're currently doing. Would be awesome. We could all share together different tips and tricks for productivity as our lives are extremely busy and the seasons go up and down and all around, especially as us as entrepreneurs. So Ryan, what's going on, man?
Hey, I'm excited to be here for this topic. It's something that's been kind of near and dear to my heart for a long time now. And that's what I was going to say too, Joel. If we can get interaction and feedback and tips from you all, man, I would really appreciate that, because I definitely don't have this thing figured out. I'm just trying to learn as I go, like the rest of us.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are the things that you are recently changed up in your schedule? I mean, you've done them before, but it's easy to fall out and fall back into routine. So like, what does that look like for you here recently?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, because a lot of us who have kids are experiencing that transition time of the kids going back to school. And so it's a good time. I think it's always a good time to think about how you want to structure your day. When do you want your work day to start? When do you want to incorporate the things that are important to you personally for your own personal development? And so I've been trying to be intentional about posting some of that stuff on social media as well. And one of the reasons is kind of selfish, and that's to hold myself accountable. When you throw it out there and you say, this is what I'm committing to, psychologically, there's a deeper motivation, because you don't want to let yourself down, but you also don't want to let the others around you down who you have kind of shared this information with. So one of the things that I had posted recently was that commitment to really go back to being intentional about reading, making sure that I am taking in content that is going to be life-giving, that's going to be educational, that's going to, kind of set my mind frame in the right way to start each day. I've done a lot of listening, a lot of podcasts and audiobooks, but there's something different about actually holding a book in your hand and reading those words, and it interacts with your brain differently. You remember the content differently. So I think it's good to mix multiple different things in. So that reading of 8 pages per day is a commitment that I've made, at least, to go through the end of this year every weekday, and then kind of go from there and see how that goes. How about you, man?
Awesome. Okay, so to summarize that's one thing that you're implementing. One, you posted about it to hold yourself accountable. Love that. That's a great tip. And then 2, you are committed to reading 8 pages a day during the weekdays, every single day. What type of content is that? Fiction, nonfiction, or can it be anything in general? Obviously, I'm assuming it's a self-development, but I just want to nail it down.
Yeah, no, I think it's an important thing, right? Like, so I would say if you're already a big reader, then, you probably have certain genres of entertainment that you use for reading. And that's a really good thing. I would highly encourage to not necessarily eat into that, but specifically what I always encouraged my team members in my former job, and what I'm trying to hold myself accountable to today, is to make sure that it's something that's going to be applicable to your career goals, to maybe your personal family goals or your spiritual goals. Make sure it's something that is really going to be adding to your skill set or your tool set, or building you up from some type of mental, emotional, or spiritual faculty. And so that's what I'm really focused on right now. So currently, one of the books that I was started with is The Richest Man in Babylon. And that kind of gets my mindset in a good place in terms of what is wealth building all about.
Love it, man. That's awesome. And I would also add to, and I think this is actually really important because there's so much out there now. There's so much good, but when there's so much good, there's so much bad. And I would just be careful because time is so scarce. If you're going to put in the effort of reading, I'm talking just in general, like as a tip, make sure it's a book that comes recommended from a very trusted source. When I get my books, I want to make sure that they're referred and not just something that I'm picking, because who knows what success I'm going to have picking the right book. And then I'm wasting my time if the content's just not there and I'm halfway through or something like that. So that's a big tip, I think, as well, when it comes to reading. I feel like we could do a whole episode on reading, to be honest with you, because it's so powerful. And I could also draw back lines very specifically to all the different avenues within not only fixed lending, but other businesses that I've built that are built off of books that I've read, or different, factors within the businesses or frameworks from certain books. Absolutely love it. Really, really cool. So when are you doing your reading? Any specific time or just when you can?
So it ties into, one of the other things that's really important to me. And it's always been kind of that place that I need to go to de-stress, to get a break either from work or from home. And that's going to the gym and getting some kind of workout time in. And so I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that at this point in my life, having young kids and just the pace of everything that goes on, if I don't go first thing in the morning to the gym, it's just never going to happen. So it's either wake up early, go first thing, or it ain't happening that day. So that's my first commitment of the day. Get up, I go to the gym. When I get back, the goal at that point is to read those 8 pages. Sometimes it's more, right? But a minimum of 8. And then that kind of sets the day and sets the tone. Today, to be fully transparent, I didn't make it in time because yesterday was the first day of the kids going back to school and I'm still adjusting to that new morning routine. So when I go out for the day, I've got some time in between appointments this afternoon and I've got my book with me and I'm still going to make sure that I can get that in. But the goal would be to have it done before kind of the pace of the day kind of picks up.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I am not, most people say this, right? I'm not a morning person per se, but it's hard. If I'm not going to work out in the morning, it's not going to get done. Your energy is drained. Your mental faculties are drained. Your time with your kids is up there as priorities, and there's other things going on. But are you working out every day? Because do you have days in between that you're taking rest days?
Yeah.
Or you're just like
before
pumping it out?
No. I mean, I'm too old for that. It's just it's more of a mental refresh thing than anything else. I'm really not trying to like look any kind of certain way really so much or hit a certain weight anymore. I've kind of come to terms with with the weight is.
So are you hitting the weights or are you doing weights and cardio?
It's almost all weights. I really should probably work in some cardio at some point, but I enjoy weightlifting. I loathe doing cardio. So, but yeah, I try to focus on if I can hit 4 workouts in a week on any, given 7-day week, then I feel really good. My minimum I want to hit is at least 3. And that way I'm working out pretty much every major muscle group once a week. And so that's kind of the main goal.
The funny thing about this too, and I think anybody listening is going to agree, is once you're in the routine, you're feeling awesome and you're at your best self. And then when you get out of it, for whatever reason, just to take a break, it's so hard to get back into it. Because I was like really consistently doing CrossFit for, I don't know, at least a year, not long enough. I was in really, really good shape and then I got out of it. And yeah, definitely needing to get back to it. I'm not going to go back to CrossFit. That was a lot, loved it. But I think I'm going to do a little bit of slower speed and hit the weights similar to what you're doing there. But at least minimum 3 days a week too. I like that.
Yeah. And you know what? It's one of those things too, where either it's important to you and you just need to make it a priority. And again, be honest with yourself. If you're not going to be able to get it done if you don't go first thing, then you're going to have to sacrifice and get up earlier, whether you're a morning person or not. I wasn't always a morning person. I kind of forced myself into being that. So it feels fine to me most of the time now to get up, pretty early around 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning. But I think from a psychological standpoint, we always fall into this rut of, man, I don't have enough money in the budget to be able to put money aside for saving up for XYZ, retirement, whatever it is, a car. But as soon as you just build that into your process, and this is a concept that comes up in Richest Man of Babylon. As soon as you build it in and it's automatically part of your process and it's automatically going into your 401k or whatever it is, you somehow find a way to live almost the exact same lifestyle because it's just a built in thing. And it's amazing how little of an impact that can have. And I think the same thing
Mm.
happens with fitness or carving out time for reading. We initially don't start because it feels like we don't have enough time. But if you carve it out and you just build it in and you make it a habit and a routine, you find that you're not strapped for time. Sometimes you actually feel like you have more time because you're just being intentional about how you're using it.
Yeah, I love that because I have to check myself when I say time management, right? Because it really is priority management
Yeah.
at the end of the day. It's
Yep.
priority management. Okay, so that's great. So reading is helping mentally, working out physically. What else in the morning? I like to hit some spiritual stuff, some devotion time. So whether that's, reading the Bible or praying, or if you're somebody who does their own type of meditation or just takes some time, I think that's all really, really good. And what I like to do also mentally is have some think time. And after like the workout, so that'll be like the first hour of the day, the second hour of the day, I kind of like to chop it up in. This actually comes from another book. I didn't finish it because I actually got kind of bored. So I'm not actually going to recommend it, but it did kickstart me to get my morning routine back. So I guess that was good for that. But I think it was called the 5:30 a.m. club or the 5 a.m. club, something like that. So I started reading. It's like, okay, I get the concept. And then I just chat GPT, give me the nuts and bolts because, I'm not going to finish this book.
There you go.
That's not most recommended. But anyways, there was the 20-20-20 rule. So it said, 20 minutes of workout or some type of physical activity, 20 minutes of reading, and then 20 minutes of devotions or something like that. I just made it my own. I do my own hour workout, 50 minutes, whatever, come home and then try to do 20 minutes devotions, 20 minutes of reading, which is the 8 pages, similar to what you're doing, Ryan, and then 20 minutes of just think time, which is just great for as far as like creativity and whether that's think time for what I would like to see in personal life or also definitely for business and just like setting up the day. That 20-20-20 is super, super powerful, I think. Easier said than done to be super consistent with it, but that's what I'm really, really going to try to hit on. And I'll report back here. And I think it's going to be awesome.
That's awesome, man. I love that.
Yeah. What else?
The spiritual aspect, it really needs to be incorporated to your point. So I'm glad that you brought that up because that's one of the areas that I still need to figure out from a personal standpoint, my own spiritual relationship with God. I need to incorporate that because what we have done as a family is we have always prioritized devotions or family worship time, family prayer time for evenings. And that's one of the reasons that I can't get those other things done after work because that's the family time, that's the family spiritual time. So yeah, I'll call myself out on the show. I need to figure out what am I going to do for me personally. And I brought this concept of being selfish in a good kind of way with your self-development time the first time that you had me on this show. It's such an important thing to really carve out, really prioritize, and be intentional about your you time. And I think as fathers, as business owners, as husbands, it's so easy to think, you know what, that will come last. It's a nice to have. I'll figure it out if I've taken care of everything else. But what ends up happening is you end up burning yourself out, and you would have been much better off serving your family and your business and your community if you had been a little bit more selfish about your development time. You really can't afford not to have it. And I ran into that all the time with the people that were working for me when I was a team leader. They just fell into that trap of, I don't have time for that. And I just always consistently said, if I can find the time as the team leader, I'm just as busy as you guys are. You can do it too. It's just a matter of being intentional about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's like you'd almost want to flip the script. It's like, that's like you said, you can't afford not to do it. Right. Because that's really what's going to move the needle.
It gets you unstuck.
You have to prioritize it. Yeah. It gets you unstuck
Right?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good tip. I mean, if you're feeling like stagnant or stuck right now, I would just challenge you to, kickstart a morning routine, maybe incorporate some of these things we're talking about. Just challenge yourself to do it for a week if it's sounding like it's daunting, just to try it out, and maybe that'll help ignite something for you. So yeah. One other cool thing that I like to do too, as far as work wise goes, I actually have this. This is on video if you're watching, so you can't. If you're listening to it, you can't see. But I've got this hourglass. It's a timer that's minutes, and I like to turn it over. And I think it's 60 minutes, so it's actually not following the 50-10-50. But you might be familiar with the 50-10-50 rule, which is minutes of concentrated work followed by a 10-minute break followed by 50 minutes of concentrated work. And I've kind of gotten away from that a little bit too, which I'm going to try to get back to, which is, we can also call it time blocking or whatnot, which can be difficult when phones are ringing and emails are coming in and whatnot. But having that productivity time, at least time blocking some of your most important things, let's call it your top 3 things that have to be done for that day, have that in your calendar and at least 50-10-50 those items, and your productivity is just going to like soar through the roof. Don't take my word for it. You can Google it, you can chat GPT it. There's been books written about it. It is absolutely proven. The 50-10-50 rule. Love it. Definitely going to be doing more and more of it. Been doing that this week a lot, and I've knocked out some pretty cool projects already. Thinking about it in times of those time blocks is helpful. Like I was mentioning, the 20-20-20 or the 50-10-50. Once you can break them down into bite-sized things and measurable things, like we talk about in business all the time with KPIs and measurables, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely doable. Anyways, one other thought I had about productivity tip or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, Joel. And it was different for me because when I was working in a corporate job, everything's kind of scheduled out for you, right? And so it's like you've got all these meetings, you kind of know what the day is going to look like, and you just show up and try and lead the team through whatever that schedule looks like for the day. Well, when you're more in this seat now, and you're on more of an entrepreneurial side, it's like no one is holding you accountable. You got to hold yourself accountable, and you got to put people around you intentionally that are going to hold you accountable. And I think the key in being able to execute on something like a 50-10-50 that you just described, you said it, and it's blocking the time ahead of time. If you don't do that, it's just never going to happen, right? At least for me. So if you want to do some sort of self-development, if you want to have that 50-10-50 for whatever it is that you need to knock out and be really productive, you got to schedule it in advance. Otherwise, there's always other things that we could be doing that our mind is going to pull us naturally into, and you got to schedule it or it won't happen.
Absolutely. Love it. All right, guys. Hopefully this was a helpful podcast. Hopefully it was a productive one. And would love to hear your feedback. Like we mentioned in the beginning, if you have any cool tips, tricks, would love to gain insight from you. It would be also helpful, be a go-giver for other people listening, and would love to try some of those out ourselves. And we'll talk to you guys next time.